Good afternoon and happy Friday, everyone. My name is Christina Calloway. I'm an attorney advisor in our Trademarks Customer Outreach Office. Thank you for joining us today for an overview of federal trademark filing. We're going to go over filing basics with Trademark Center, and then I'm going to show you information regarding our pre-filing checklist, kind of what you need to file that application in Trademark Center. Then we're actually going to go through a demonstration in Trademark Center at USPTO.gov, so feel free to follow along on your computer or mobile device as we go through that. And then I'm also going to end with some resources and materials that the USPTO has to assist you with filing an application online. As well as we'll have an opportunity for Q&A where I'm going to ask Nikita to join me live and we'll ask some of those questions as well. All right, without further ado, let's talk about our filing basics. All right, so when you file an application with the USPTO, a trademark application, you're going to be filing that electronically, and that is going to be mandatory. And you're going to do that in our Trademark Center. I'm providing a link here on the screen to Trademark Center, and we're also going to see it when we do that demonstration a little later on in the presentation. And we're really excited about Trademark Center. It was just recently we just recently opened it up to the public on January 18th, where you file your basic trademark applications. And I just want to point out some features that Trademark Center has that we're excited about. One, it has a more mobile friendly design. So we recognize that applicants are sometimes doing those applications on a mobile device. So this has a more mobile friendly design and also a guided user interface for once you see it, it's going to kind of guide you through the application a little bit easier. It looks a little bit cleaner for you to get through the application. As well, it's going to draft your automatically save your drafts every 60 seconds. So you don't have to just sit down and say, at this time, I'm going to file that application. You can do that, but if there's something that comes up or you need to walk away, it is going to be saving that application as you go through. I'm going to point that out, and then you'll have drafts. So if you need to come back to the application at a later date, you'll be able to do so. As well as you're going to be able to see application costs in the actual application as you're going through. You're not going to have to be doing any math yourself as you're going through the application and adding classes, things of that nature. You'll see that when we do the demonstration. I'm going to point that out, but it makes it a little bit easier for you to see what the fees are associated with your application as you're going through that application. And it also is going to prompt you to complete commonly omitted information. So we need you to fill out a complete application. And as we go through today's presentation, there are fees associated with providing us with an application that has insufficient information. So what we like about Trademark Center is that it's going to kind of ask you if you have, or if you meant to leave something blank, or if you need to fill in something in a particular area of that application. All right. So let's talk about what you need in your application. Just a moment here. Excuse me there. And we talk about our pre-filing checklist. All right, so I'm showing here on the screen our pre-filing checklist. So this is providing you with information of what you will need to actually fill out your application and what you want to have next to you when you're going through the application online in Trademark Center. I like to print it out and have it next to you and hear about applicants that have it next to them so they can actually know about those application requirements and what they need so they can follow that as they're going through the actual application online. The link to that is also going to be in the chat, and we'll also send it in that email after today's presentation. Let's go through the different areas of this pre-filing checklist. So first, when you file an application with the USPTO, you have to let us know what your trademark is. You're not coming to the USPTO to purchase a trademark, or we're not telling you what your trademark is. You're going to be telling us what the trademark is, and you're going to also be providing us with a mark drawing format. When we're talking about a drawing format, doesn't mean that you're going to actually be online or sketching out something that you are telling us what your trademark is, but that means a particular format that your trademark is in based upon the type of protections that you want in this particular trademark. So first, the most broadest protection is that standard character drawing, meaning that you're just coming in for wording alone. not not with any regards to stylization or the font size, anything of that nature. You're just coming in for the wording alone, which means that you can display that wording out in the marketplace how you so choose, whether it is in some type of stylized font or a different size or in color, something of that nature. So a standard character drawing format is that you just want to come in for that wording alone. Now, say, like we showing Coca-Cola here, we normally don't see Coca-Cola in just that standard character format, even though they have registered trademark for that standard character format. We usually see it in that famous script or in conjunction with some type of design elements with that wording. That is called a special form drawing. So what you may know of as your logos, right, or maybe your stylized slogan that you're using in connection with the that you have as a trademark, that is whether you just have that stylized wording or design elements alone, or a composite mark that is wording and design elements as well, is a special form drawing. I'm showing two examples here for that Coca-Cola, that stylized font and different size font, as well as that composite mark with wording as well as design elements. Now, I'm showing these particular marks in black and white. And the reason why I'm doing that is because if you don't have a particular color that is as important for you to claim with your trademark, you can file your stylized or special form drawings in black and white, and that gives you broader protection. Just like the standard character mark, you do have to still show us that particular special form mark the way that is shown in that particular in your application in order to get toward registration, but you're able to display it out in the marketplace in any color that you so choose when we're looking at it in just black and white. Now, if color is important to you, then you would be filing that trademark with that color and providing us with a description or color claim in connection with that particular trademark. But you, as the brand owner, entrepreneur, are making that decision for yourself of whether or not you want to come in for those colors if it is important for you. So you're making that determination of what is important for you to protect at this point in your journey with this particular trademark, if you want to come in black and white, or if it's special for you or important for you to get that color or file that color claim in connection with your trademark. A decision that you make, and you can do both. You can decide, hey, at this point, I want to just do this particular special form drawing in black and white, and at a later date, I'm going to come in for color. Again, that's a decision that you're making as the brand owner. Now, once you've made the determination of the mark drawing format that you're going to file your application in, you need to let us know your filing basis. What is your filing basis? Your filing basis is the legal reason that you have to file an application with the USPTO. You are going to have to provide us with a filing basis for each listed good or service in your application. We're going to go over the two most common type of filing basis. One, this is what we call the use in commerce, or Section A, 1A, use in commerce filing basis. This means you're coming in for a trademark that you're using, already currently using in connection with goods and services, and you're filing that application, and you're able to show us evidence or specimen of that use in commerce of that particular trademark. Okay, so a specimen is just evidence or a sample of how you're using that trademark in commerce, and you say, I'm already currently using it and I'm able to show that, so I'm going to file my application under a use in commerce filing basis. Now, the second most common is intent to use, or a 1B, intent to use filing basis. And that is if you have a trademark that you intend to use in connection with goods and or services in your application, but you're not currently using it in the marketplace, but you intend to do so within 3 to 4 years. So you can still file that application with the USPTO under that intent to use filing basis. And then at a later date, you would be required to file a fee in what is called a statement of use, or an allegation to alleged use of this particular mark in connection with your goods and services, and show us that specimen that you're using it. The reason being is that you cannot get a trademark registration until you are using that mark in commerce. Remember that trademark rights are based upon usage in the United States. So you would have to eventually show us that you are using that mark in commerce at a later date for an additional fee. All right. So once you provide us with that mark, or your mark drawing format, you know what your filing basis is going to be for your goods indoor services, then you're going to actually identify or tell us what your goods and services are. So you want to identify what your goods and services are that you use in connection with this particular trademark. One, you're going to want to give us generally understood terminology and also specific terminology about what your goods and services are. So here, you don't really have to go so much in depth. You're going to give us something that's broad yet accurate. So let's use an example here. Say that you are apparel maker, you have a clothing line, you make t-shirts, right? You just come in for shirts. That's going to be broad enough to encompass long sleeve shirts and sweatshirts and polo shirts. See, button down shirts. See where I'm going there? So it's broad enough to encompass there and just specific and broad enough to encompass what you're doing for those goods that you're providing in connection with that trademark. So you wouldn't have to tell us that you have t-shirts that are emblazoned with rhinestones and maybe pom-pom balls, and you have a particular design that you have on those particular t-shirts. You just have to give us very specific, general, accurate identification of goods and services that you're inputting into that application. Now, if you have something that's narrow, think about this. If you say that you have short sleeve t-shirts, remember that's not going to encompass long sleeve t-shirts or sweatshirts or polo shirts because you have specified, which you can do, but you've only specified short sleeve t-shirts. After you file that application, you would not be able to expand the scope of your identification of goods after filing. So say you said we're coming in for short sleeve t-shirts, and then you say, hey, we're also making sweatshirts and hoodies and long sleeve t-shirts. Well, you would have to file a new application because short sleeve t-shirts does not encompass sweatshirts and hoodies and long sleeve t-shirts. So something to think about when you are inputting your goods indoor services, making sure that it's specific terminology and it's accurate to the goods indoor services that you are using in connection with that particular trademark. Where's the guidance, or where do I find what goods and services that I'm going to input into that application? Where you would be using our trademark identification manual. This is our trademark manual of acceptable identifications of goods and services. I'm providing a link there. This is where you would be able to find that specific, accurate information or identification of goods and services that you would be able to input into your application. Right, so it has thousands of entries. More likely than not, you will find your identification of goods and services in the ID manual. So that's going to be a great resource for you. We're also going to talk about if you think that, hey, I just want to freeform or input my own identification of goods and services in the application, or I have something that is so new or innovative that it is not yet in the identification or the trademark identification manual. We'll talk about the fees that are associated with doing that if you choose to do so. However, we definitely implore you to look into the trademark identification manual to pick out those goods indoor services. Also makes it a little easier for your trademark examining attorney to review your application because your identification of goods and services out of the ID manual is already acceptable for the USPTO. So it makes it easier for them to review that portion of the application as well. All right, so you've figured out what your drawing format is, what your filing basis or the legal reason for filing your application is going to be, and identify your goods and services. Then you're going to estimate your filing fees. And as I talked about in Trademark Center, you're going to be able to track that live as you are completing the application. We're going to talk about those fees when we're doing that demonstration because I want to show you how in Trademark Center you'll be able to see all the information about the fees associated with the application and any change in any additional fees and how that's going to change in the application as you're working inside of it. Now, when you've got all this information with your pre-filing checklist and you say, hey, I'm ready to file my application with the USPTO, you are going to need to create a My USPTO account in order to file an application. You only need to create that account and verify your identity one time, but this is how you'll be able to file an application in Trademark Center. I recommend probably doing this a little bit before, or maybe a week before you decide to file your application, so you can make sure that the verification goes through and it's all ready for you to go when you're ready to file that application in Trademark Center. So once you've done that, you've gotten your My USPTO account, you would file your application electronically in Trademark Center. Okay. So we've gotten through our pre-filing checklist. We're actually now going to go into our Trademark Center filing demonstration, and I'm going to show you how to access Trademark Center, and we're going to actually file a sample application together. All right. Before I actually go into that, I do want to show you a couple of slides of what the user interface looks like, what My USPTO looks like, and then you can join me as we go through the demonstration. So on this first screen, this is where you would need to go to get that My USPTO account. There's a link there, and I'm also showing you how it's going to look. You'll be logging in with that account to do that application in Trademark Center. So you want to start here first and make sure you get that your identity verified so that you can file in Trademark Center. Now, once we get into Trademark Center, this is what it's going to look like, that first user interface. Once you see it, it is where you're going to file applications, where you'll be able to see those drafts in your dockets, as well as there are going to be additional links for additional information to search the trademark database, apply to register, and like I said, view your docket and any drafts that you may have if you've already been working in Trademark Center. So I'm going to switch here to over to USPTO.gov, our hub for all things trademarks, and then we're going to get into our demonstration. All right, here we go. There we go. All right, so it shows that I was already working in it and it's timed out, but I do want to start at USPTO.gov so you can actually see how you get to Trademark Center if you didn't catch that link in our slides. So we're here at USPTO.gov on the main web page. I like to come over here on the right to find it fast. It's going to drop down, and the second one you see there is going to be Trademark Center. You can also hover here over the main title bar over trademarks. It's going to drop down, and in the second row, second column, second row, you'll see Apply Online. You can click there. It's going to take you to our application page, where it's going to provide different information for you, but also the Trademark Center is here in this green radio button. We're going to click there. That's going to take me to Trademark Center, where we're going to file our application. All right, so I need to sign in. Like I said, when you get your My USPTO, this is how you're able to file that application with the USPTO. It's going to sign me in here. Let's give that a moment to upload. And I'm all signed in and ready to go. I do want to point out here, because we always get these questions in our filing overview, any announcements or updates to Trademark Center, you'll be able to see on this Trademark Center front page. And I'm just going to click on this here. We had a recent update regarding attorneys sharing drafts with their associated attorneys as well as support staff. So you can check out any updates and announcements there on the Trademark Center page as well if we're getting any questions regarding that. So I am going to start my application. I'm going to click right here in the middle to apply to register a trademark. I'm going to open that up there. We'll let that load up for us. Now, I am going to be moving a little bit quicker because I've been in Trademark Center and worked in Trademark Center. So sometimes I'm not going to read over some of the notices that are in the actual system. But if this is your first time or you're starting your application, I do recommend that you're reading these notices and notes, getting that information. We're not hiding anything from you. We want to let you know everything that's going on with the application, as well as providing you additional information. So make sure you're reading through this information. So I'm going to act like I've already read this note about using Trademark Center. I'm going to click on that checkbox, and I agree to that notice that I've read, and now I'm actually in the system. All right. When we're filing an application, it's going to give us additional information. This is what I love about Trademark Center. It's very user-friendly, this user interface. So first, I am going to just be filing a base application, and I want to point out here information regarding the fees. So if you have questions about that as we're going through, you'll see here on the right-hand side where it's going to update your filing fees as you go through. And it's going to provide you information specifically about what those filing fees are. So we see here for a base application, it's going to be $350 per class of goods and/or services. Okay. There are 1 through 45 international classes. That is the classifications of the goods and services that you are inputting into your application. No international rights or worldwide trademark rights. That just international class just refers to the acceptable administrative way we decided to classify these particular goods and/or services. So $350 per class, not per good or service that you have in a class. So in one class, you could have 50 entries, and if it's all in the same class, then you would just be paying that $350. Additional fees are listed there for insufficient information. That's going to be $150 per class. Then if you decide to free form or input your own identification, not taking that identification of goods and services from the identification manual, you are going to be charged that $200 per class. And then if you have an entry in that free form box that is past 1,000 characters, you are going to be charged $200 per affected class. So we're going to do a demonstration of that when we get to that point in the application, but I just wanted to highlight those fees there. So I am going to do it in the demonstration so you can see how they change. So for the purposes of today's demonstration, we're just going to file that base application of a trademark. It's shown here in this blue box, is giving me additional information that you can read through, as well as telling me to use that identification manual for my goods and services. That radio button is already filled in, so I'm going to scroll down and click continue here on the right. So now we're going to have to input our information, our trademark owner information. And so it is also in Trademark Center going to provide you with additional boxes here for information. Now you can hide these as you're going through. If you've been working in Trademark Center, maybe your support staff, you don't need to see these. You can hide this information and also change that in my settings if you don't want to see these particular boxes as you're going through the application. For the purposes here, I'm going to leave them open, and I am filing this application as an individual. When I click individual, it's going to drop down. I need to give that city of that citizenship, country of citizenship. I'm going to click United States, drop down and click the United States. Then I'm going to input my name, Christina, my last name, Calloway. And I just want to note here, anywhere that you see that red asterisk is information that is required in the application. If you don't see it, it is not required. So here I need to input my first and last name, and then I need to put in an owner mailing address. So here I'm going to put in P.O. Box 123. I'm going to select the country of citizenship as United States. I'm going to put the city of Alexandria. And I'm going to scroll down to put my state and zip code 22314. And I've input that public information, which will be my P.O. box. And here you see that the application system is letting you know that this is going to be public information. As an individual owner, I am doing my business outside of my home, So I didn't want to put my home address there so that the public would be able to see it. But for an application, I still have to put that domicile address, and that I will input into the owner domicile address section. If I don't want that to be public, it's going to indicate that this information will be hidden from the public, and it is telling us that in the application. So here, as that individual owner, I'm going to put in my domicile address, 123 Main Street. I'm going to drop down and click my country of citizenship as United States. I am going to input my city as Alexandria, and then my state as Virginia, and then that zip code is 22314. All right, so I've indicated my mailing address, which is open or will be able to be viewed publicly, and then my domicile address, which will be hidden from the public but is required information. I am then going to put in my owner email address. This is very important because this is how the USPTO is going to be contacting you and communicating with you electronically via your email address. So I'm going to input that information as biz owner at domain.com. And you see here, you can input your telephone number, but it is not required that you put your telephone number. We're going to talk about scams at the end of today's presentation, but your information when you file this application with the USPTO is going to be public record. So like I said, that PO box information is going to be publicly accessible. So if you put your telephone, your email address is, and if you put your telephone number, it will be as well. And more likely than not, you may be contacted by those trying to scam you. And we'll talk about that, like I said, at the end of today's presentation. So you make a determination of whether you want that information input into your application, because it is not, your telephone number is not required. All right. So I've input my owner information. I'm going to scroll down. And as you see, as I'm going through, it is auto saving my drafts here and letting me know when it auto saved. I'm going to scroll down, click continue. All right, so now we're at correspondence information. This is where you want any information regarding your application to be sent to. So I've already indicated my primary email address. You are also able to indicate up to get courtesy copies to up to 5 other email addresses. So say you're working on the application with someone else in the business that you want to input their email address so that they can receive courtesy copies. You're able to do that here. I'm working alone as individual business owner. I'm doing it all myself, so I'm not going to click that there. I'm going to scroll down and click continue. Now we're at where we need to input our mark selection or input our trademark. We need to let the USPTO know what trademark we're coming in requesting or applying for registration. Again, it's providing you with additional information. And now we have to, if we've decided in our pre-filing checklist what our mark drawing format is going to be, whether we want to do that standard character, which is just the wording alone. And again, it's providing you with some information here, or if we want to do that special form drawing, whether that's just going to be design elements alone, stylized wording alone, or a composite mark with wording and design elements. All right, so for the purposes of this demonstration, we want to do this particular special form drawing. And I'm going to show you here what mark I am going to be working on for my company. So we see here that we have stylized wording, and then I also have design elements for that composite mark. So that's what mark I'm going to be applying for. So I want to click this second radio button. I'm going to scroll down and click continue. All right. So now it's going to ask me additional information about that drawing, whether it's just that stylized wording, whether it's just designs alone, or whether it's a composite mark with wording and design elements. So my mark is a composite mark. So I'm going to scroll down, and I love that it gives you these examples of what those types of marks look like. And I know that I have a combination of wording and design. So I'm going to click the radio button, that third radio button there, and scroll down and click continue. Now we're at the section where we can let the USPTO know whether we're going to claim color in connection with our mark. Now, remember I talked about with our mark drawing format, you can make that determination as a business owner if the color for your particular mark is important for you at this time. Or if you want to just file in black and white, meaning that my composite mark is in black and white, I can display it out in the marketplace in any color that I so choose. And maybe as I'm going through my business, color does become important to me, and I also want to additionally file an application with that color claim. So you make that decision, and this is where you would be letting us know what those colors are and providing us with that color claim. For the purposes of this demonstration and the mark that I'm uploading, that composite wording and design mark, I'm going to just do it in black and white. I want to broaden the scope of that protection that I'm getting out in the marketplace. So I'm going to click no here for the second radio button and click continue. All right, so now I actually have to upload my trademark to this application. Like I said, you're not going to be drawing or going into the system and drawing. You're actually going to upload a file of this particular trademark. So you've seen what my mark is. This is just a reminder of what it looks like. And I'm going to click Browse Files so that I can upload that particular mark into the record here or into my application here. And let's upload it. And the thing here, once you upload it, you want to make sure that that drawing is correct once you upload it, that you're able to see that. And that looks like exactly what I wanted to upload, what I just showed you moments ago. So it looks good. Everything has been uploaded. I'm going to scroll down and click continue. All right, and now I actually have to provide a description or provide mark details in the description of my particular mark. So here it's asking me what the wording is or the literal element in my particular mark. Now the system is going to try to upload that itself here. As you see, it just says marquee, but you want to make sure that is correct before you're moving forward. Okay, so I know it's not correct because mine is T period marquee, so I want to input that. You don't have to worry about any particular type of font size here, lowercase or uppercase. You just need to input what the literal element is in this particular mark. So it also is telling you you need to verify whether that wording is correct. All throughout the application, it's helping you out as you go through this. So T marquee, I've input that. I'm going to click continue. And now I need to provide a mark description of what is in this particular mark here in my composite mark, the literal wording as well as the design elements. You can describe this as best as possible as you can. If there are any issues, your trademark examining attorney would let you know. But for the purposes of this demonstration, it's already telling me the mark consists of, and I just need to input this. So I'm going to say the literal element, T marquee, to the left of a cartoon man. You're the cartoon person here. All right. So that's enough to describe what is in my particular mark and as far as the design elements and the literal element. So you will be providing a mark description if you have that special form drawing. All right, so I'm going to scroll down here and click continue. And then the system is going to go through a series of questions that you would need to answer yes or no to based upon whether it's relevant to your application. If it is not, making sure that you're looking at the information in these boxes to make sure you have an understanding of what information is being requested or asked of in the application. But if it is not, you can move on. So you would not be clicking anything that is not relevant to your application. So in my particular mark, T marquee with my little cartoon person is asking, do I need a translation of the literal wording in this particular mark? And I don't, so I'm going to click no, and I'm going to move forward, clicking continue. It's going to ask me if I need to provide consent, if anyone's name or likeness or portrait is in this particular mark, and it is not, so I'm going to click no, and then click continue. All right, so now we've gone through our mark drawing format and indicated what our trademark is. We're down to that filing basis or the legal reason that we have to file this application with the USPTO. Now, again, in the system, it's going to provide you with additional explanations of what those different filing bases are. We talked about the most common filing bases, which are that section 1A, use in commerce. You have a mark that you are currently using in commerce in connection with your goods and services, and you have a specimen or evidence that you can show of that mark in use in commerce. Or that section 1B, intent to use filing bases, where you have not yet used your mark in commerce, but you have an intent to do so. Okay, so for the purposes of this demonstration, so I can show you some additional elements to the application and filing system, I am going to click that I am filing at use in commerce. I'm currently using T marquee and my cartoon person in connection with my goods and/or services. So I'm going to click that first box, scroll down, and click continue. Now I have to identify the goods and services that I'm using in connection with this, that I have in connection with this particular trademark. Now, in the system, you can actually look in the trademark identification manual for your goods and their services. If you've used that pre-filing checklist, you probably already looked into the identification manual to determine your goods and or services. Right, so I already know what my goods are for this particular mark. I am selling apparel, I'm selling t-shirts. So I'm going to type in t-shirts, see if that is in the identification manual. Click the magnifying glass here on the right, and I see this drop down here, and it's giving me the entries that have the wording t-shirts. Remember, we want to use that general but in specific terminology. So here, this looks good for me. I'm just going to add t-shirts. So I add that here, making sure that it is added to my application. I'm going to scroll down and I see t-shirts has been added to my application. And you're also going to see another update here as we're going through the application. On the right hand side, you're going to see that summary of your filing fees or the cost associated with your particular application. So right now, I just have t-shirts in one class, class 25. The total cost here is going to be $350. Okay. So fourth, if I were to add another class, say I were to say I am also selling tote bags in class 18. If I were to add class 18, it's going to add an additional $350 fee because it's $350 per class. Now, say that you want to actually draft your own identification of goods and services. You say, I am not going to use the identification manual. I'm going to just remove this here so we can see what that looks like and see how our fees are going to change. So see here, I'm going to choose or write in my own identification of goods and services. It is going to give you that alert there that if you write in your own additional goods and your own goods and services, it's going to increase the price by $200. I'm saying, hey, I still want to. I'm going to enable free text. Go to free form entry. I'm going to select the class. I know that I'm going to be in class 25. I'm selling those apparel goods, those t-shirts. So I'm going to scroll down to class 25. And I'm going to add my goods. Say I have t-shirts and gloves. Got to separate them by a semicolon, and vests here, and also pants, and maybe shoes. So I'm going to add those entries, and you see here that it has updated those fees with that $200 in connection with the $350 that I've put in that free form entry box. Okay, so that's a decision that you're making, but it also is going to let you know the additional fees. Okay, we want you to look in the identification manual. Like I said, it's going to have thousands of entries that you can that you'll be able to see whether or not your goods and services are in there. More than likely they will be, and they're already accepted by the USPTO, and you're not incurring that additional $200 fee. Now, an additional fee, if you are deciding to input all of those goods and services or free form your goods and services, if you have additional characters after first 1,000 characters, it's going to charge an additional $200 fee. So I want to show you just an example of what that looks like. All right, so say I have all these goods that I'm going to input. I've copied and pasted them here in class 25. Scroll back here. And I've pasted them there. So I have all of these goods that I'm providing in this particular class, and it's showing that I am 823 characters over that 1,000 characters. So once I add these particular entries, I see that $200 has been added, and it's going to go up to $750. So I just wanted to show you there. You can use the free form text entry if you want, but I just wanted to show you how those fees are added if you're using free form text entry. Maybe your identification of goods and/or services is not in the identification manual. We're talking about intellectual property here, so maybe you have something that is so innovative or inventive that is not in the identification manual, but more likely than not, it will be in the identification manual. So if you don't want to incur those additional fees, you would just choose it out of the identification manual. manual. So I'm going to delete everything here. I'm just coming in for t-shirts, but I just wanted to show you how the system looks when you're using the free form entry. Okay, give me just a moment. I got to delete all of these entries here, and then I'm going to input t-shirts in class 25, and then we'll go to the next section of our application. So I'm going back to the trademark identification manual. I'm typing in t-shirts. I'm clicking the magnifying glass. It is the first entry there. I'm going to add it to my application, $350 for my application, t-shirts, and I'm going to click continue. So since I did that 1A use in commerce filing basis, I now have to add a specimen of how I'm using my trademark in connection with the goods that I've indicated in my application with those t-shirts. So here's providing additional information about what a specimen is, and then I will need to upload a specimen for this particular class. So here I'm going to click add specimen, and you've seen what my particular mark looks like. I'm just going to show you again so you can see it, and I'm going to provide upload a file with my particular specimen with my trademark. So I'm going to upload that here. And as that is uploading, what I uploaded was, oh, I guess it would be helpful to show you the type of specimen that I uploaded here. Let's go back. I'm actually going to show it to you. So upload this file. But what it is going to be a T-marquee that is on the label of a T-shirt that I am using in connection with my goods and/or services, or with these particular goods, T-shirts. I just want to show you here. Open this file. Here we go. All right. So this is what I have uploaded as my specimen. I'm showing this my particular trademark in connection with these goods. I'm saying t-shirts, and I'm showing that label in connection with these particular goods, and I've already uploaded it. Now, it is helpful, very helpful, to provide a description of your specimen to for your examining attorney so they have an understanding of what you've actually submitted. So I'm going to say trademark on label of t-shirt. I might even say inside label of the t-shirt because it's in the back of that shirt. So that lets them know what is in. They're going to look at it, but also let them know what is in the specimen. Then I'm going to provide the required date of first use anywhere, as well as the date of first use in commerce. So I just started my business. So January 1st, 2025 is where my first date of use anywhere. And then January 1st, 2025 was also my first date of use in commerce. Okay, those dates can be different, but for the purposes of today's demonstration, they are the same. I am now going to check that this specimen applies to these particular goods that I have in my application, t-shirts. So I'm clicking t-shirts, and then I'm going to make sure that I save that uploaded specimen. So I'm going to save the specimen here, make sure that it is added, and then I'm going to scroll down and click continue here. Then the application system is going to ask for additional information. Like I said, make sure you're reading through the application to see if any of this is going to be relevant to you. And if it is not, don't just click anything if it is not relevant to your particular application. Now, for the purposes of this demonstration, none of these are applicable to my application, but make sure that you are reading through when you're filing the application. You're able to see your fee and your costs here, your total costs here. I'm going to scroll down, click continue. And this is where you want to review all the information that you've input into your application. So you'd be dropping down these plus signs. It's going to show you all the information that we put in, our owner name, our trademark, the type of phone format, our correspondence information, our goods and or services, making sure that fee information is correct that we are seeing. So you're able to go through, make any changes if you need to review that information. like I said, or what the application system shows you, or Trademark Center shows you, that if you don't provide that, if there's insufficient information in your application, so if you're receiving any prompts that making sure that you've input certain information, you could be charged an additional fee for an insufficient information in your application. All right. So you want to make sure that you're reviewing all this information, make sure that's correct, and make sure you've input what you needed to for this particular application. I think everything looks good here, so I'm going to click continue, and then we're going to come to the declaration and signature page. Okay. When you're filing an application with the USPTO, this is a legal document that you're filing with the USPTO requesting that are filing for application of registration of your particular trademark. So you're providing us with that declaration. This box is going to give you more information about that. And when you drop down, it allows you to see which type of ways you or your signature method for this particular application. Again, I'm that individual owner, so I'm filing myself. So I am going to sign in the application directly. You're going to want to read through all of these paragraphs here regarding your declaration, making sure that you understand. Like I said, this is a legal document that you're declaring and verifying this information in your application. So I've already read through these particular statements, so I'm going to click on the radio buttons next to each one, which I need to do in order to sign my application. And then once I've read through and clicked on the radio buttons, agreeing to this particular declaration, verifying this particular declaration in connection with my application, I'm going to sign my application. It's going to provide you with additional information about how to input that electronic signature. It needs to be between these forward slashes. So Christina Calloway. And then the date that I signed, it's going to do that automatically based upon the date that you are actually working on that particular application. And then I am going to also type out my name as well, Christina Calloway, for signatory's name. Remember, all this is going to be required information because there is a red asterisk by this information. And then I'm going to put my position. I am the owner. Scroll down, click continue, and now we're at the pay and submit page. So as you are going through the application, you are able to see your application fees, or how many fees that you're doing for your application. And now you're at the pay and submit page. We're not going to click there or go into that, but that is where you go to pay for your application. And then you finished that particular application. All right. Let's go back into our slides. We're going to talk about some resources and materials that the USPTO has to assist you with filing your application, and then we'll get into some question and answer. All right. So first, like I said, your hub for all things trademarks is going to be uspto.gov. And then we also have videos about every area and subject matter associated with filing federal registration and the trademark filing process at TM Videos. So that's where you can see small chunks as well as more in-depth videos about every area of filing your application with the USPTO. As well as we have our Trademark Basics Registration Toolkit. I am providing that QR code as well as a link there to the toolkit. This is going to provide you with additional information about the federal registration process. It's also a great printout that you can have along with your pre-filing checklist that gives you additional information about your application requirements, other resources and materials to assist you as you're filing that application. All right, a great resource is our Trademark Assistance Center. This is the main support center for our trademark customers. At this telephone number, they are available for you Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you email them, they will respond to your email within 24 to 48 hours. Any questions that you have regarding your trademark application or Trademark Center, they can assist with, but they cannot provide you with any type of legal advice. We can provide you with the legal advice as well, but they cannot provide you with any legal advice. All right, just a few caveats. The USPTO does not provide legal advice. We cannot enforce your legal rights after you receive your trademark registration. We do not have the capability to do so, and we cannot recommend specific private attorneys. Now, we are attorneys. You're going to be asking us questions or have been asking questions throughout today's presentation, but we cannot recommend specific private attorneys. We do have resources on our website regarding how to get an experienced or how to hire an experienced trademark attorney, or where you can find an experienced trademark attorney. As well, we do recommend hiring an experienced trademark attorney, but you're probably here today because you want to file your application either pro se or by yourself as an individual brand owner, and you are able to do that. And it's great that you're here with us today to learn how to do that. Right. Remember, your best resource is going to be an experienced trademark attorney, and that most trademark filing companies can only provide you with limited services. Okay. The only person who can or represent you before the USPTO is going to be yourself if you're filing that application, or your attorney on your behalf, your counsel on your behalf. So a trademark filing company, they're probably just filing the application. They cannot provide you with any legal advice or legal services. If you were to receive an office action from the USPTO, you would be responsible for that. So make sure that you're looking at that if you're working with a filing attorney, and we're also going to provide you with information regarding those, and being a little wary of working with filing attorney. So here we are at scams. Like I said, when you're filing your application with the USPTO, that is going to be public record. We talked about that when I was saying the information with your mailing address, or whether you're putting in your telephone number. Okay, your email address is also going to be public record. More likely than not, you are going to receive solicitations, could be for legitimate business from attorneys about representing you, and will also be others who may be trying to fraud you out of money associated with your application. And so make sure that you are looking, if you're looking at that correspondence or receiving that correspondence either in the mail or by telephone or by email, you're going to these links to kind of see how some of the correspondence we're trying to keep up with, to see how it looks. And we have examples there. The USPTO is not going to be asking you for money over the telephone, via email, or in any type of mailed correspondence. Okay, your examining attorney who is reviewing your application would not be calling you, asking you to give them any type of financial information in order to process or review your application. So be aware of that. Make sure you're checking out these particular links so you're aware of that. If you have any questions about the validity of any correspondence that you may be receiving, any type of communications, even if your trademark examining attorney calls you in connection with your application, right? They're calling you out of the blue. You don't know who this person is, right? You can contact the Trademark Assistance Center and ask them, hey, Christina Calloway contacted me specifically about my application, but I'm not sure if she is a USPTO employee. I'm not sure what she's asking me about. They can let you know, hey, yes, Christina Calloway is an employee of the USPTO. She is your examining attorney reviewing your application. Or they can say, no, that person is not, or the correspondence you have received is not from the USPTO. So if you have any questions, it is okay to contact the Trademark Assistance Center regarding that. All right, now we're at questions time. I am going to invite my colleague Nakia Henry on and get into some of the questions, or maybe if we did get any questions about the filing overview.
Hi, Christina. Thank you so much.
Hi.
Wonderful presentation. We did have a few questions that were posed in the chat, so I thought
Okay.
we might start with this one, which I think is really good because we talked about scams. So it says when I Google my trademark registration, I see a bunch of different sites. Do they all work with you guys, meaning the United States Patent and Trademark Office, or should I just use the Trademark Center? What's the best option?
When you're searching for your trademark, right? When you're doing that homework beforehand. So
Yes.
yes, we do recommend, if you're filing an application pro se, that you can do a search on the internet for common law trademark rights. But if you want to see what is in our USPTO database, you would be coming to uspto.gov and searching in our search system. That is where
Yeah.
you're going to find any prior filed applications and pending applications, as well as any trademark registration, currently registered trademarks, which is important because once you file that application, application, say heavens forbid that you do receive like a likelihood of confusion refusal with another registration, we're only going to cite something that's in the USPTO database. So you want to be looking when you're doing that homework before you're filing your application. So that's a great question because you're saying, I want to do that before I pay that $350,
Yeah.
that you are using the USPTO database, using our search system. And we have a lot of great resources. I don't know, Jason, if you can drop in some of the filing overview for, excuse me, the search system overview for looking in the search system in the chat box. We have videos regarding that as well.
Okay. Um, Another question that we'd like to discuss is, can you use broad and precise description of goods and services? So maybe we can take a look at the ID manual
Yep,
to begin with.
sure. So
Okay,
let's go ahead
thank
and do
you.
that identification manual here. Flip over. All right, and I'm just going to go here, basics here.
And just as a follow-up with that great explanation that you provided earlier about um, which sites to look at, it's also important too to avoid using non-attorney filing firms, which I believe we discussed at the very end of the presentation, correct?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. And so if they are intending to file an application, the best source to file that application would be with the United States Patent and Trademark Office, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, wonderful.
Here, let me get to these ID manual. I
So
thought I
while
had
you're
it up
getting
here.
that, one of the questions that they asked was, can you use, and I know we mentioned this, but I'll reiterate it again. Can we use broad or precise description of goods and services? So, say someone wants to come in for clothing, could they use clothing?
Yeah, so when we're talking about that broad, we want accurate yet specific. So
Hmm.
clothing, yes, it's broad. It may be accurate, right? T-shirt is clothing, but it's not specific enough to let us know what your goods and services are, right? So when we're looking in the database, or when we need to look in the database when reviewing your application, if someone just was able to get a registration for just clothing, that is going to prevent anyone who may have a similar name, like from being able to do anything else, right? Because they have clothing running the gamut, right? That could be anything. So
Right,
you want to make sure, yes, that's broad, but even if you have to input clothing, you need to specify the type of clothing. So articles of clothing. And even in the ID manual, it's going to prompt you to let us know. So even if you say clothing, I'm just going to search it here. Hopefully does it right. So it has differences in different classes, but if I'm in class 25, it's going to ask for specifically the articles or the types of clothing. So even here it has bottoms as clothing, tops as clothing, ties as clothing. If you had clothing, namely t-shirts and pants and footwear, etc.
right. And you know what, if we could see that screen also, that would be helpful for them to see some of those different pieces as they break down.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for explaining that too.
Yep.
Um, while we're
See if I can
talking
drop
about
that.
that, I thought it was really interesting. There was another question that talked about scope. So say for instance, and you gave a really great example, maybe just reiterating that example here. You had mentioned if someone came in for a short sleeve t-shirt and then they later wanted to amend that short sleeve t-shirt to a long sleeve t-shirt, for example, um, or hoodie, then obviously that would be an issue, right?
Yeah, it would be
Okay,
outside of the scope. So that's why when you're doing your pre-filing checklist, you want to kind of really think about the types of goods that you are providing. And that's why we say if you have it broad enough, if you just say shirts, because you can just get a registration for goods, just shirts. And I'm just going to show it here in the manual here, class 25 shirts. That's going to encompass, right, sweatshirts and polo shirts and long sleeve
right.
shirts and button down shirts, right? And
Yeah,
then if you needed to further specify or narrow, if you wanted to say, we're not really doing t-shirts. We're a golf company. We're just doing sweatshirts. We're just doing polo shirts. You can say, well, shirts, namely polo shirts, or we want to narrow it down to polo shirts. But if you have
right.
short sleeve shirts, you can't say now I want to come in for those sweatshirts and those long sleeve shirts, right? You'd have to file another application.
Right. Thank you for explaining that. And I think that helps people make decisions when they're filing their applications as well, which is great.
Yeah.
Um, I love the example that you gave of the T marquee drawing. And I was wondering if we could take a peek at that just for a quick second.
Okay.
Um, you had mentioned at one point that there was a benefit to filing a black and white drawing. Maybe we can explain that while you're looking for the T marquee example.
Yep. So he's here in my, okay, I think I closed him out, but because I
Okay.
think we're right at time. So we'll show this really
Oh, I'm
quickly.
sorry.
No problem. So I'm going to show it. And when we were
Okay.
talking about that mark drawing format, when you have that standard character, you have a broader, you get broader protection because you're just coming in for that wording. You can display it out in the marketplace any way that you so choose. And then if you have those design elements or this special form drawing that is a composite mark with wording as well as design elements, that you can file it in black and white because I want broader protection to display it out in the marketplace in any color that I so choose. Now, if I decide at a later date or if I'm out using it in the marketplace and this color orange and white is really important to me to claim in connection with my particular trademark, I just file another application indicating that I'm filing it with color and letting the USPTO know what those colors are. So you see how it's providing you with a kind of a broader protection if you're just doing it in black and white. And then you're narrowing it a little bit more if you are filing in color because you have to show us how you're using that mark in commerce. So if you're only using it in that specific color and that's what your application is for, the trademark is for, then you have to show that on your specimen in those specific colors. But in black and white, I am able to show it on that t-shirt label in orange or in blue or in white because I'm only filing it in black and white.
Thank you so much, Christina. I
No problem.
apologize for asking a question at the very end,
Oh,
but it
no
looks
problem.
like we have gotten to the very end of the presentation a little bit over. So thank you so much for answering those questions.
No problem. All right. So I want to thank you for joining us this Friday. Thank you to Jason Lott, my managing attorney, Jason Lott, as well as my colleagues, Dana Johnson and Nakia Henry. Thank you, Nakia, for joining me to ask those questions. Thank you for answering all those questions coming into the Q&A. Thank you again, all of you, for joining me on this beautiful Friday afternoon. If you, again, like I said, you'll receive an email within the next week with our feedback survey as well as with the slides, and you can also find additional information there in the chat. Again, thank you for joining us. Have a great weekend.